I've got my back-to-back World War champs.
See if we can make it through this one.
We can. We've been through a lot. We can get through this.
Can we though?
I think so.
I mean, man, I don't know. I was the guy up until Friday that was like, it'll blow over. We'll be fine by August. It'll be nothing. Well, I was thinking we'll be fine in 3 weeks, but
Yeah, doesn't seem to be the case.
no, not at all.
Have y'all's schools started talking about online schooling?
Yeah, we've kind of started doing that.
Really? In the public schools, y'all already have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my friends, some of my friends are teachers, and they're talking about like kind of like going through the trainings right now of how to teach online and do that. And I see some of their videos and stuff already teaching online. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been so relieved that I homeschooled.
Yeah, right.
At least my youngest, my oldest, but she was sad because she didn't want to go to summer school.
Yeah.
You know what was irritating me? The stupid, because I still tangentially follow like what's going on in wrestling on occasion, and all the wrestling fans that are like, they better not cancel WrestleMania. I'm like, you nerds are gonna die from coronavirus, so you can watch WrestleMania. So you can watch guys pretend to fight each other. You're gonna die over that.
They've canceled every other sport.
Yeah, everything just for the season. It's done. That's crazy.
That's nuts. Well, they suspended it. They could come back.
It's like Space Jam when they canceled the NBA season.
Yeah, I saw that. It was like the monsters all around the basketball from Space Jam. It was like the last time NBA was canceled. They're all afraid to get their talent stolen by aliens.
Because the Illuminati has to tell us what they're going to do before they do it.
Yeah.
Ernie, what's up, Ernie?
Oh, Ernie.
Don't even try to act like you are anything conspiratorial.
No, I've never been conspiratorial. That's why I'm still semi-sane right now.
That's why you and my husband would go butt heads like crazy.
I don't believe anything. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how I'm religious because I don't believe anything. I dating via internet over laptops. That's for sure what we're not doing.
Why? Yeah. What? Why? How do you connect those two?
Because we're all in the field trying to make sure we have enough food for the harvest so we don't starve through the winter. That's how.
But you don't have to check for your harvest all 24 hours a day.
And we don't all have like 13 kids like they did in the 1850s when they needed farm hands, you know?
Exactly. So growing a garden would be sufficient and efficient.
I don't know, man. You got to have the indoorsy people doing the indoorsy work and the outdoorsy people doing the outdoorsy work so that society functions properly.
Yeah, it's like I can't wait.
In a natural society, yeah. But what about in a society that's all shut down? Let's just say there's no grocery stores. Nothing's open. Who's going to
just wait it out. I mean,
yeah, just wait it out.
Start buying the stuff now. We'll have to wait for China to make us a bunch of more stuff. And
that's my problem with like organic people too, when they're like, oh, only local organic. It's like, yeah, that's me. Cool. I know. That's cool if you want to live in a city of like 30 people. But if you want to have actual metropolitan areas with industry and innovation, you got to have a lot of food to feed a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, so if everybody would grow and take care of their own food, then we have a lot of food to feed a lot of people because you're doing it yourself.
That's the point.
Like people have done forever.
Right, but if you know what they didn't have forever? Laptops and the internet and running water and all of that stuff.
But that doesn't mean we cannot have both.
So here's the thing. I would love to have 50 acres and cattle and animals and land and grow crops and grow all my own food, all my own meat, raise my own livestock, all those things. But I'm not rich, so I can't do those things.
True.
And so if I ever become like super rich, then it's amazing. It used to be like, 70, 80 years ago, only poor people had horses. Now it's only rich people have horses. So, and that's just where we shifted, is like to live simply like that on a ranch by yourself, you have to be a millionaire. Yeah. And it's
that's not true. That's not true though.
I mean, you can, yeah. If for land's expensive. I can't just go buy land.
I agree. You have to make.
Or if I live in an apartment, it's like, okay, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I live in an apartment and just trying to like save up, whatever. I'm not planting a garden. I just can't. Like literally have nowhere to plant a garden. Maybe on my balcony or something, plant a couple of tomatoes. But to have land, to even buy a house is like awesome. That's a goal to buy a house with
Right.
a tiny yard
That's
and a
not my
tiny
goal
front
ever.
yard. Well, I'm just saying to own land and to
What's your
own
goal?
to do
What's your goal?
something.
What's your property goal?
What's I guess definitely not to. Okay,
You don't
not
own
bu-
land?
okay, no. You're right. Okay, I would like to own land. I would like to
Yeah.
build my own self-sustaining house. Like that's why we're in a
Yes.
fifth pool in the first place.
That'd be
But
amazing.
as a part of like going to buy a house in the city, like that's not what I want at all.
But it costs more to buy a house in the country with lots of land.
Yeah, but okay, so we went to hippie self coming out. We went to
The tie-dye didn't give it away.
Right? I was dressing for the part.
We're like dressed opposite. World War champs.
Peace. I just want world peace.
That's awesome. Give war a
no,
chance.
we went to New Mexico and looked at. Have y'all heard of Earth ships? Oh,
vaguely, yeah, a little bit.
Y'all are freezing on me. Yeah, Earth ships. So we went to New Mexico and looked at them, and they're like built out of like recycled material, like tires. And
yeah, I don't want to live in that.
I don't want to tire.
I don't want to live in a trash home.
I'll do it. It's not a trash home. It looks like a normal home after you mud it all up.
You gotta put mud on it? You're living
Not
like a hobbit.
mud.
You're living like
gosh.
a hobbit, dude. I don't want to live like a Tolkien character.
This is why I don't want to do the comic thing, because I'm going to read it and y'all are going to gang up on me and I'm going to be like, ah.
Well, yeah, because in comic books, they live in spaceships and stuff. It's awesome. Earthship.
Yes. See, Ernie said he'd love to have the magic green homes. And I'm guessing that's more like a...
Ernie wants to
live
live
in... Earthship, self-sustaining. You collect the water.
Ernie wants to live in Middle Earth. Of course he wants one of those places.
That's a yurt.
I don't know what Middle Earth is, but I'm sure it's great.
What?
Now you really did it now. Now everybody's turned on you.
You don't know what Middle Earth is?
I don't know what that is.
You don't know Middle Earth?
No, I don't even know. No.
Oh my gosh.
What's Middle Earth?
Well,
it's
Middle Earth, like an Earth and then the Middle Earth and then another.
Oh my gosh, it's Lord of the Rings. It's where Lord of the Rings takes place.
Yeah, it's Middle Earth.
I'm terrible at that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
do you even read?
Yeah.
No, we've established Abby buys books and then does not read them. So no.
I've been buying all the books to save up in case we all get quarantined, so I have plenty to do. Like now, I'm gonna read a lot of books.
Next thing you know, you'll be saying you don't know what Candor is.
Candleware?
Candor.
Candor. I don't know what Candor.
Of course you don't. You're uncultured.
These airships actually look pretty cool. They look like hobbit holes, kind of.
Yeah, I don't want to live in a hobbit hole, man.
Are you familiar with Hobbit Hole, Abby? You know what that is? Do you know what a hobbit is?
I don't. Okay, hold on. You cut out a little bit. Say it again.
Do you know what a hobbit hole is?
I don't know.
Hobbits.
But if it's self-sustaining, it's awesome.
It's Lord of the
like
Rings.
from the Lord of the Rings Hobbit.
Yes. That's how you want to live. You want to be a hobbit.
Okay.
You want to be a hobbit.
I never watched those movies or read those books. Clearly, I'd be fine with that. I don't want to. Yeah, I'd be all right with that.
You would totally.
I want to be able to grow my own food, have my own.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, I don't want.
How much does this cost? I want to buy an Earth ship. How much does it cost? How rich do I have to be? How much money
rich do you have to
be
homeless?
You can build an Earth ship from like 70,000.
Oh, is that all?
Hold on, you froze. Say that number again.
I even have an Earth ship coloring book.
Oh my gosh.
I said I even have an Earth ship coloring book.
Yeah.
Still frozen?
I mean, it's a good. I want those things too. I think a lot of people would. I think most people would want to live self-sustaining, have my own garden, have my own chickens and whatever and stuff. But it's like that's just I don't know. Like you can't. The amount of time and effort and money that goes into that and the return, I think, is something that we're not used to. Because I can pay a couple bucks and get a whole thing of eggs, you know.
True.
And over and over and over and over again, and I don't have to ever lift a finger, you know, besides to just go to the store. But it's the time
until you don't have the store to get the eggs at.
Yeah, but the argument you're making is that
we live in,
right?
That's
the argument you're making is that progress isn't good because something could go wrong.
No, okay,
Once.
no.
Once a
I'm
day.
just saying, I'll go to the store and buy eggs.
And the
I'll
one
go to
time
the
it
store,
happens.
I'll go to the store and buy hamburger meat. But how many of us are actually prepared for if we can't go to the store to get eggs? If we can't go to the store to get hamburger meat,
Yeah.
then what? How many people are
Well,
just doomed?
but you can't live your life for the 2
Even small
weeks.
gardens.
You know, like the amount of time the grocery store is going to be closed or inaccessible or something's going to happen is a fraction of your entire life. So you can't just live if that's going to be the only thing. If you want you want it to be healthier, if you want to be even more in control of your own produce and things, that's fine. I think those are more reasonable long-term goals to do those things, not for the 8 weeks a year that I'm going to maybe not be able to make it to the grocery store, you know, or it's going to be closed or something. That's not reason enough I think for a lot of people to put that much effort all the time into being self-sustainable. But I think we should for other reasons, not for pandemic lockdown reasons, you know, because that is going to happen, but the smallest fraction of your life, you know.
I agree.
But there are other reasons. I think there are other long-term reasons to be self-sustainable. But again, it's money and effort and time, and time is money.
Not only that, like you have to learn agriculture at this point. None of us know how to do any of that. Like,
okay, yeah, that's a problem though. Like, we're gonna have to put money and effort into time into something, whether it's money into our electric bill, water bill on a house that's not self-sustaining, work if we're working a 40 hour a week job. I mean, we're still going to be putting our money somewhere, using our time somewhere. So like, why not on a homestead that's gonna that's like my
because
my
I have
goal.
to do those things plus a homestead. No one
right.
I have allergies.
Like, not even a little bit.
Like,
we're what you call indoorsy.
Yeah.
Mark Martinez said, when are they going to get to the benefits of eating toilet paper? That's true.
The benefits of it is, never mind.
Well, if you eat enough of it, you get constipated and you don't have to use toilet paper anymore.
Yeah, it just
the hibernation strategy.
Yeah. Hibernation.
Dude, so I was looking up before we got on because I wanted to make sure I wasn't defaming China for no reason. Like actual facts about the whole thing that's going on in China. Like, yeah. I still don't understand how it started, like why it started in China, but it started in China.
It's the pangolin and bat. No, they're eating a pangolin and bat soup over there. That's how it started.
I heard a couple of different things. One of them is at the wet markets. They have so many animals crammed into one place that it's easy for things to jump from one species to another. Yeah. So like bugs just jump and change over there. But apparently their first case was in November. That was the first like confirmed case in China. And they just were like, shh.
Yeah.
Till February.
Till February, yeah.
That I think that was a big part of it was
definitely.
Was they had a problem and then just the information control was like, okay, we're not gonna say anything about this. And there's actual people being thrown in jail, people being persecuted for trying to say stuff to try and warn people. I mean, there's cell phone videos of doctors trying to get the word out, like, hey, well, there's this it's going to be terrible. Everybody's getting infected. It's a flu, and everybody's getting sick, and it's a new sort of flu. It's a new disease, and those people all died. And yeah, it's just the communist regime of information control, and then they couldn't contain it. It's a lot like Chernobyl with the USSR. Of like they were just wanting to save face on the world stage, and so like, oh, it's not a big deal, oh, it's nothing, and it's like, no, it's like the freaking Walking Dead out there, you know. and that's like, yeah, I think that's has a lot to do with it.
It's still going on too, apparently. So just so everybody knows, I was looking this up on the Guardian and New York Times and everything, not like somebody's Facebook post. But World Health Organization and the CDC have both been trying to offer help. Like, hey, we'll go over there and help you get this under control. And China's just like radio silence on them. Like, no, we're good. We got it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So China's going to kill us all. And I think it's time we started seeing them for the enemy they are. No, but like the communist government is the real problem. Like the communist government, it's crazy that the communist government in China is a problem. Like clearly a lot of Chinese people have died because the government was like, we have to not talk about this.
Yeah. And I think that there's so many deaths that came out in China before because like over 50% of the men smoke. And that was like, and that's the thing with this coronavirus, is that if you have any sort of health issues before you get it, and then you get it, it's like so much worse for you. And if you're older, and communist China doesn't care about their old people, have nothing to contribute to society. So they literally just like sent them off somewhere to die, and instead of actually taking care of them, and so, which is the communist way. So that's, I mean, that led to the numbers and just the healthcare. I mean, China, I mean, I've been there. It's a third world country. I mean, it really is, like operating and trying to look like a first world country. But
so man, it's like every communist country that's ever existed.
Yeah, it's just villages and just poor people stacked on top of people and just all over the place. Like we have those areas here in the United States as well, in other countries and stuff. But it's just like the entire country is either like a city that's like a village with people in apartments stacked on top of each other, or actual village with like rice paddies and stuff. And yeah, it's crazy. And so that's where this thing spread. And of course it did spread, and then just went all over the place.
Well, that's what I was seeing too, because like Europe is the epicenter now, and they were saying the problem in Europe is kind of the same thing. Like everybody's a lot older in Europe than they are in America on average. They're a lot more unhealthy than they are over here on average. It's just like
each other.
Yeah, they're always they kiss each other. They're always touching. It's just like a bad
warm
setup.
Culture.
Yeah, so don't touch anybody is the point.
But then there's the mistakes.
They don't just throw their old people in nursing homes like we do.
Well,
true.
Yeah.
And then there's the mistakes, like what happened to you guys in San Antonio, where the guy was like, got tested for it, and they're like, no, you don't have it. And then he went to the mall, and then you're like, oh, wait, you do have it. Or
well, no, they told her she probably didn't have it. And she was like, okay, I guess. And then went to the mall, and then she didn't feel good and was like, no, I think I definitely have it. And then went back, and they were like, oh, yeah, you do have it. Sorry.
And then today, like in my town, they releases like 2 confirmed cases, like for the first time. So we were like in yellow today, which is like no cases. And then we got moved to orange, which is we have 2 confirmed cases. But at the same time today, they released an article that said they're just now opening a testing center for it today. And it'll take days to reach back. So I'm like, how do we have 2 confirmed cases of just now? I guess maybe they're just opening. Maybe they've been testing. Maybe they just made it like a citywide testing. Yeah, maybe so.
It's getting crazy. I don't know. I was like, every time I get on YouTube, there's a little clip in the corner of like some government official saying something about what's going on, and I keep hearing about we're closing these, and now these are closing, and then maybe we're doing a curfew, and possibly we're doing a lockdown, and maybe 3 months, maybe 8 months. We'll see how it goes. So it's like nobody has any idea what's going on or what's going to happen, because this is like an unprecedented disease. Like we don't know what it is, we don't know where it came from, we don't know how to cure it, we don't know what to do about it. It's crazy.
And my husband was saying, and what brought this to mind was Ernie said only 2% of confirmed cases of what is it called? Is it COVID-19 are children under 19. And my husband was saying that too, that it doesn't seem to be affecting the smaller children like it is the adults, which is super interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. Dr. James White was talking about how
even adults. Yeah.
He was saying how this is a Darwinist dream. Like the COVID-19 disease is the perfect Darwinist scenario because it only kills off the old and sick and leaves the young good to go.
Yeah. Can't reproduce and contribite to society and just kill them off. So yeah. Like that's the naturalist. Yeah, that's what you do.
So Jared was saying, Palmer, what's up, bro? He was saying there's not enough tests, that the most likely 10 times what's actually confirmed, but we haven't tested for it, so we don't know. Which I've heard too today, that San Antonio maybe has a lot of people that are carrying it that just aren't showing symptoms, but we don't know because we're not testing. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But I mean,
that's what makes it so dangerous, is that you don't know
And we lost him. He's frozen.
Yeah, he froze.
I think he was going to say, no, you're back on.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, now you're frozen. It's COVID-19. It's in the computer. It's computer virus.
It's going to be like Independence Day. A little skull's going to pop up and laugh, and then the internet's going to shut down.
Yeah. Yeah, or like the Jurassic Park. Didn't say the magic word.
I hate that guy. I've always hated him from that point on. Before I knew him as Newman. I didn't even know him as Newman. He was just the guy from Jurassic Park, and I hated him.
Yeah.
So
I know, but that's what I was saying. No one's asking about COVID 1 through 18. You know, what's going on with that? We're at COVID 19, but
we've skipped a lot.
we're at COVID 20 now.
That's gonna be a bad one. When 20 drops, none of us are ready for it.
That's
I don't know.
I'm curious. Go ahead,
All right.
Julian.
Do you think we're gonna be good by summertime?
That's what people keep saying. Once it warms up, I guess that like is going to help with the flu. Like once the flu season kind of dies down itself, it'll be better. But I don't know. I guess we'll just have
And then
to see.
if it does, is it going to be like, oh, we're in Corona season? Like, is this with us forever now? Is this just a thing we got to prep for every year?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. We're gonna make a vaccine, and we're gonna make a vaccine, and then that's gonna be it. And this is here to stay. I mean, it's not gonna just like be eradicated.
That's crazy that just in our lifetime, this past week, a new virus showed up, and it's like, hey, this is a new thing that we all have to deal with forever now.
Yep, like SARS and MERS and H1N1 and all that.
And it's the one that got us. Like SARS didn't really stop anything. H1N1 didn't really stop anything. Ebola hasn't really stopped anything, but this one's the one that was like, can't do anything.
Yep, it's crazy. So do we want to get into the world's freaking out. Everybody's buying toilet paper. Everybody's going nuts and stuff. And
everybody's stocking up on gold.
The memes have been on point. And so do we want to talk about now as far as what's the Christian's response to this? We see this fear, we see this anxiety, panic and things. It's like, okay, well, we're not just like subject to the whims of culture and nature and all these things. We believe that there's something higher, something, an actual God who created the universe, created us in the world, and is in control, who is sovereign. This doesn't take him by surprise. He's not panicking. He's not freaking out, trying to figure out a plan for this. So we want to kind of talk about those things and how we should respond, or how we have been responding, or how we've seen other people respond as Christians who believe in God and the Bible to this situation.
Well, I mean,
how are y'all? I think it'd be good to like, how are y'all responding to it personally, and then how do you think we should respond, like from a Christian standpoint? You know what I mean? Like for your own families, and like, what is y'all's response?
It took me a couple of days to get into to calm down a little bit. Like, if you're on the internet, you're freaking out. That's all that, like, as soon as people start talking about it, you're freaking out. So it's because they're just giving you the worst case scenario. That's all you're hearing is the worst case scenario. So it took some unplugging and like getting off of all of this stuff to like refocus and reframe and be like, okay, pause the noise, just reassess the situation from the actual thing that you say you believe. Like, how should you be responding to it? Not how are you currently responding to it? And it's still kind of dire. Like, it's still kind of, it's not dire, but it's still kind of dour, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Kind of sad still, but it's a little more like, well, I mean, if this is what is the will of God, this is what is the will of, what are you going to do? You praise God and keep living, and until you can't.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, a lot of people on Facebook have been like, a lot of people are pre-mill dispies too. So that's I see all these highlighted Bible verses about how like, this is, you knew it was coming, next are the locusts. Like, wow.
Did you see Gavin's post? He posted something. It was like, all dispensations being like, it's like the 7-headed dragon on the world.
It's true though.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, if you take Revelation literally, yeah.
Wilson had I was listening to, I don't know if you heard Blog and Mablog today.
No, I heard today. I did see his little video he had on the coronavirus.
He did a whole blog on it, and he was saying the two problems we have right now are the virus and the panic, and both of those are bad, because the virus is bad because it's actually having ramifications. The panic is bad because it's having worse ramifications. Mm-hmm. He made a kind of a funny point, kind of a pithy point. It was just kind of interesting when I thought about it. He was saying he doesn't know. He's not saying that it'll guarantee that this will all go away, but now might be a good time for China to release the pastor from prison and repent of their persecution of the church. Wow. And maybe America should start repenting for its abortion. And maybe that'll help a little bit. No guarantees, but it might help.
Yeah, what do y'all think about that? Of just like a nation in rebellion, getting. I mean, but it's not just ours. That's not our nation. It's the entire world.
The
Yeah,
entire world,
So
but the
like,
entire world is
what's
in
Italy been
rebellion
doing?
almost.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
we've always have been. So why now? Like, why? You know, I think it's very. I don't think Doug Wilson was doing this, but I think it's very. It's inappropriate to. Well, I question the appropriateness of saying, well, this is happening because X, Y, and Z, right? Because that's
yeah,
just what like people were saying about uh, Hurricane Katrina
right,
with
right.
New Orleans, of like the Big Easy and the Bourbon Street and the Voodoo and like all the, Mardi Gras and all this stuff. It's like, oh, see, here we go. See, that's they deserve. And it's like, that's so insane. Like, what about Las Vegas? It's literally called Sin City. Why didn't a hurricane
Right?
hit there? Or like, why hasn't that been blown off the map yet? So there's just things that just don't make sense when you say like, oh, God's doing this because of this or because of that. It's like, but that, I don't know. It's sure, maybe. I don't know. Like we can't say this is why God's doing it.
Right,
But it
right,
also rains on the just and the unjust.
right.
So it's not, a faithful pastor gets cancer and dies. It's like, okay, explain that. Explain Job. What did Job do? Right? That's kind of like to
Right.
say that is like Job's friends saying, oh, this is why your family died and you're covered in boils. This is why, it's like, no, it's not. Job was faithful. It's not how it works.
I have had the attitude of I don't want to say because of this is why this is happening, but it's almost like well, I mean, you get what you deserve a little bit, like
But I mean, the wages of sin is death. So if we
right.
got what we deserve, we would all just drop dead. Which, I mean, that's another thing too. Like someone posted something about like this man standing up to this big monster of coronavirus, and it's like, my God's bigger than you. And it's like, yeah. And someone posted in the caption was like, God will let you die. Wash your hands.
Well,
And like
I
that's
mean,
true.
that's the other side of because there's two sides of extremes on this. Is the one is like it's the end of the world, and the other side it's like it's fine. I'm still gonna go to the movies. It's not it. I'm going to the sports game. Nothing
That's
matters.
Ernie.
It's
Ernie's
fine.
out
It's
there.
Ernie's
fine.
out there living his best life. Yeah.
There's no crowds. He's living it up.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the truth is
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle, right? I mean, it's not
Hmm.
on either extreme, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, on the one hand, God will let you die. There's no like
I mean, that is perfectly reasonable to be for that to be His will. You can't
right.
for you to die, and it's like, okay, what, and maybe that's something we could talk about too. The idea of discernment and wisdom, and not saying these are opposite, but like faith in God, and just like I'm gonna just
Mhm.
lick a doorknob and have faith in God. And it's like, no, that's not what that means, first of all. But I think there is some of that mentality of like, don't worry, don't even stop anything, just continue to hug everyone you see. And
Well, I mean,
I don't
past
know, you
that
know what I
too,
mean?
I've seen a lot of like God is for you. Nothing will. A lot of people posting psalms right now, like in the wrong
Psalm's
context.
truth. Psalm is truth.
I mean, it is truth, but it doesn't mean like you said the right psalm. Now you're immortal.
We have eternal life, bro.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Death,
kind
where
of
is
the
thy sting?
right, but that's kind of the eternal life is the thing that's secured after death, not before on this side. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there was a lot of Jews that were reciting the Psalms when the Babylonians showed up and took them away. Like, just
Yeah.
the things. The Psalm is not your free pass to immunity from all hardship ever. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
work that way.
Yeah. What do you think,
But
Abby? You can jump
she's
in.
frozen.
We're gonna go on back and forth.
I lost y'all for a minute there.
I think you're back. So what's your homestead hippie attitude towards all this?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm a little different than both of you guys in a little bit of a way. I mean, I have 100% faith. I'm God's sovereign. No matter what happens. I feel like sickness, even like you said, you know, they're going to create a vaccine for it and it's going to be something we're going to deal with forever. Even if they did create a vaccine that magically healed all diseases, another disease is going to pop up after that one. You know what I mean? That's kind of part of living in a fallen world, is sickness, and we should expect sickness just like we should physical pain or anything else. But at the same time, I also feel like there's a sense of almost like what is it, the fence on the roof in the Old Testament, how that was kind of like look out for your neighbors, care for each other. There should also be a sense of washing your hands, wearing a mask if you're sick, like caring about others, caring about keeping others out of harm's way. But at the same time, if it's God's will that we all die from coronavirus, everyone's gonna die. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like we should practice things that we can according to our thinking and according to our wisdom. But in reality, know
to our
that
finite knowledge
God,
too. Yeah.
Right. According to God's wisdom, all His will happen no matter what. But in our own wisdom, we should be able to practice what we think is best for others and our family.
And I was thinking about it today. I was supposed to be doing work training, but it was a lot of videos and I was getting bored. When we start panicking like this, like we start to kind of reveal our hand that we think we have control over things. Like as much as we say that we believe God is sovereign, like when we start freaking out about this kind of stuff, like what are we going to do? I got to do this. I got to do like you're revealing like, oh, you thought you were in control. And it's just kind of like a subtle, not subtle, but it's kind of a reminder that like, no, you're not. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Yeah. But you can't extend your life by one day. Well, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. This is not in your hands.
Right. But at the same time, God could use your planning to, you know what I mean? Like you're planning and you're like next year. Okay. Next year, let's say this all goes away. Okay. For us, I would love to have like a 5-gallon glass dill of beans, rice, water, just the necessities for 30 days. Okay. If I'm going to die in 30 days, I'm going to die in 30 days, no matter what. But at the same time, like when does it become irresponsible not to have anything and only rely on the stores? And when does it become? Do you guys know what I'm saying? Like I think I'm battling that a little bit.
Where does faith and responsibility intersect? Like where's
faith over circumstances, but also like wisdom and discernment and acting wisely. Yeah, it's hard because like especially where it becomes really difficult for me is when we've got the government saying, hey, don't do this, don't do that, we're doing a curfew, something that kind of bristles against that of like, well, I'm all for care. Like I was going to do it to care for my neighbor, but now you're telling me to do it. And so now it's like just sort of this like rebellion thing of like, well, now I don't want to because you're telling me to do it, you know? And
I've seen a lot of that.
That's not okay, you know?
I mean, I
think we need to grow out of it. I grow up a little, I guess.
I mean, when you do that kind of thing, that is the opposite of love for neighbor. Like if the idea is like, hey, if you don't go outside and if we all kind of contain ourselves, we can slow this down. But if everybody's like, no, I'm just going to live my life. It's like, okay, you've immediately put yourself before everybody else. Now you're just selfish.
Yeah. And I mean, and this isn't like, and something that was kind of pointed out to me was that a good point is that this is not, they're not saying churches don't meet. They're saying nobody meet.
Right.
Don't, they're saying that to the bars and to the clubs and stuff too. It's like they're shutting those down as well. So it's not like this Christian persecution against like, because you're Christian, we're going to close. We don't want you to meet. And we don't want you to talk about Jesus. We don't want you. It's like, no, we don't want you like around each other to get each other sick. That's a completely different thing.
How many bars were losing it after they spent all that money on green beer and they couldn't open up?
Dude, St. Patrick's Day. It's insane. Yeah. Somebody posted a video of like some place in Dublin and like some, I guess, popular street or corner with bars and stuff in Dublin last year versus this year. And it was insane. I think last year it looked like Mardi Gras and it was all crazy. And this year just like nobody there. It's so weird.
It's nuts, man. Guinness put out a commercial that was on YouTube all day about it. Like, as long as you're with people that you can call friends or family, it's always St. Patrick's Day. And I was like, all right, Guinness, whatever.
But only 10 of them.
Less than 10. Your aunt's not invited.
Yeah.
If you're talking to me, I lost y'all again.
We were talking about, Guinness had a commercial there. They were saying as long as you can get together with people you care about, it's still St. Patrick's Day for you. But
no. Well, we
it's
can't,
crazy.
so
So it's not.
so it's not St. Patrick's Day anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so who
Um,
wants to address Ernie? 'Cause he said the only guy who believes in free will here is the only one who has zero concern. And then he said, "Y'all are cracking me up here. Unless you are talking abstract theology, the way you talk is as if you have a choice in the matter,
Well,
i.e., as if you have free will."
the
Ernie
question.
doesn't understand our worldview. He attacks straw men, and he doesn't understand that he thinks when we
Whoa.
say God is sovereign, that we are robots, and that anybody who says Calvinists are robots has no clue what they're talking about. They just literally have not.
He can
Yeah,
defend himself.
yeah,
I don't know. It's the whole. I mean, just talking about the fact that China had this going on since early November and it kept it hush hush and they're refusing any help and they're silencing, like, to see a wicked government in action and then say, yeah, and we have free will and I feel perfectly secure in that. Like,
yeah.
how do you have any security in any of that? I don't understand.
I know, it's kind of like, it's like, oh, speaking with an atheist or something, they say, uh, how can I believe in God after the Holocaust? Like, well, how can you believe in man after the Holocaust? Like, what are we supposed to believe in? The UN? No, like, it's so stupid. So yeah, um, Aaron said that it froze. Solomon froze right when you said anyone who thinks Calvinists are robots have no clue.
Oh,
Okay, I guess
Facebook's
we're back.
yeah,
Yeah, I
Facebook's
think
not
it
working
keeps.
great.
Yeah, I think it keeps cutting us out, like in the middle of it.
Well, I mean, everybody at Facebook went home. Nobody's there monitoring this stuff.
No one's working. Yeah.
It's nuts, man. I never thought in my lifetime I'd see like a complete shutdown of everything. It's crazy.
Right?
This is having more impact on our daily lives than 9/11 did. I mean,
Yeah,
where were y'all?
Big time.
Where were y'all at
Big
9/11?
time.
Like,
I
Sixth
was.
where were
grade.
y'all at 9/11?
Yeah, I was in like
Fifth grade?
second period math class in like seventh grade, eighth grade maybe.
Yeah.
Sixth grade history.
Would y'all go home? What did y'all do? Like, 'cause
No,
that whole
we
day was
stayed at
kind of
school the
weird.
whole. Like they rolled a TV out so we could keep track of what was going on, but we were still there. Like nobody left.
Yeah, I don't think we did either until. Yeah, I think we stayed.
Well, I was homeschooled, so we were at home, and my mom kind of kept the news on. Kind of, it was in the morning, and so we were just kind of getting our day started and stuff. And my mom had on, I think, like the Today Show or something, and she was like, "Hey, y'all, come in here." So we went in there, and it was right after the first plane hit, and she was like, uh, a plane hit. Like, look at this. Like, it was crazy. It was just like, wow, insane. Like, what happened?
Yeah,
I was like, wow, those are the buildings from Home Alone. That's crazy. I didn't know what they were. I didn't know like the Twin Tower. I didn't know what the significance of them. I was just like, wow, that's really crazy. And then they were talking about it like, could be an attack. We don't know. Or it's a plane hit. And then another plane went down over here, whatever. And then this I saw live the second plane hit the second tower. And I was like, holy crap, that's crazy. And yeah, then it was like, okay, this is clearly like an attack, whatever. And I think we went to my grandparents, and we were kind of like freaking out a little bit, but it wasn't like this. The people, like I said, people stayed at school, people went to work, people
yeah.
just kind of stayed. And even the weeks afterwards, it wasn't like no one was buying up toilet paper or anything and freaking out. I guess the only other time like that, as far as like a run on the grocery stores and stuff, was Y2K, the year 2000, when everybody thought all the computers were gonna crash or whatever. There was people like hoarding big barrels of water and canned food and stuff, and like
Yeah, but
doomsday prepping and stuff.
not like this though. This is the worst I've probably seen it in my whole 30 years.
Yeah,
The last time
sure.
that I can think of something like bad was when last no, I don't even think it was last year. Whatever the last hurricane that hit the Gulf Coast was, and
Harvey or like
yeah, and everybody thought that it was going to be like gas wasn't going to come in, and
Yeah.
so they made a run on the gas stations, and all the gas stations were empty.
Yes,
Yes.
for lines.
That was horrible.
That was
Yeah.
terrible. I was actually, me and my family were actually going on a trip from San Antonio to Fort Worth for a baseball game, for a Ranger game, and we had to go. We had the tickets and everything was ready, and
Oh
we
man.
were going. I was like half a tank, and we're like, all right, we're just gonna go, and all the gas stations going out of town were all empty, and we just kept going. It's like we're gonna reach a point of no return eventually. We got to turn around and you can't go, but we finally found a gas station.
Man,
filled up.
I managed to find one that
weird.
was new, like it had just been built, so nobody really knew it was there, and that was the only place I could fill up. But it
Yeah.
was crazy. But yeah, this is worse than that. Like, luckily, it hasn't been gas. I've still been able to drive, but I can't go anywhere, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And you sent me, and I think we posted it too, the Martin Luther quote about the Black Plague when that was going on, which obviously was a million times worse than this. Like, it was just a third of Europe died from that.
Yeah.
And he had the attitude of like, well, you know, if this is the will of God, this is the will of God. I'm not going to make it worse, but I know I can't stop it. So
yeah, that was pretty insane because they already didn't have like amazing resources and stores where they could just go buy up a bunch of food or whatever. It was just, hey, we're all dying and we're too sick to farm, and that's just what it was. But
I mean, and even before that hit, it's not like their life was great anyway. Life expectancy already wasn't great, you know. It's like, no, well, now it knocked off 20 years. So,
and there's no news, like instant news of like, hey, it's here, hey, it's there. Here's the statistics. Here's the, there's no CDC, taking like looking at everything.
I mean, that might be the one saving grace of all this, is that we actually can get like up to the minute, like, this is what we're doing, this is what we need to do, this is what's going to help us. If we didn't have that, it could be worse. Yeah, which is why we can't all be farmers. We have to have people making laptops.
But if we were out on a farm somewhere, probably wouldn't get it, right?
You think they're cool in Montana? Like, they're not freaking out at all?
It's a lot of social distance, so.
Man,
already social distancing. Yeah, let me read that thing from Martin Luther, just because I don't know if everybody like saw it. We posted it on our Time and Place Facebook page, but let me just read it. It's just a few sentences, but Martin Luther, in the 16th century response to panic about the bubonic plague, he said, "You ought to think this way. Very well, by God's decree, the enemy has sent us poison and deadly offal. Therefore, I shall ask God mercifully to protect us. Then I shall fumigate, help purify the air, administer medicine, and take it. I shall avoid places and persons where my presence is not needed, in order not to become contaminated and thus perchance infect and pollute others, and so cause their death as a result of my negligence. If God should wish to take me, he will surely find me, and I have done what he has expected of me, and so I am not responsible for either my own death or the death of others. If my neighbor needs me, however, I shall not avoid place or person, but will go freely." And yeah, it's kind of like a lot of stuff we're hearing right now. Like, just don't contaminate others. You might be okay because you're healthy and young, whatever, but you could give it to somebody else, and so that's your result of your negligence and stuff. But I also really like, if my neighbor needs me, however, I shall not avoid place or person, but will go freely. And that's something that somebody in our church was saying, like, look in your neighborhood, and if there's an old couple, or if there's somebody who can't make it to the store or whatever, go to the store for them. Go to the grocery store for family members and for old people or for whatever, and really just see this as an opportunity to care for each other. And I think that's like a good Christian response to this, is seeing this as an opportunity to care for people in a real practical way. Of just like, look, what can I do? Can I mow your lawn? Can I run to the store for you? Can I go pick up your mat? Like, whatever I can do, go get food for you. Like, kind of like what our family's doing, but just in that, I have seen that happen. I've seen people doing that, and that's really been cool to see. Just people just helping each other out like that, and like, hey, they've got toilet paper over here, hey, whatever in this, and just being able to, or buying a bunch and then giving it to family, knowing people were going to need this stuff and then just giving it away. I've seen stuff like that too. So I think that is like a great Christian response to this situation.
I like what he said too about, if God's going to take me, he's going to find me. Like, if you're going to go, I think, Abby, I think you said that, like, you believe God's sovereign. If you're going to die from corona, you're going to die from corona. If you're not, you're not. But what he said stuck out, because it's like, if he's going to take me, he's going to find me. So let him find me doing what he wants me to be doing, which is caring for each other, loving your neighbor. The thought I had this week that kind of switched it a little bit, I'm still a little paranoid, but a little less so, is to actually be in the word and in prayer, as opposed to being on the news, up to the minute updates. Like, what's going on. It's not good. You can find it at any time. It's going to be there. That's okay. So as opposed to just like luring yourself into a panic, like, actually spend time in communion with God, like, actually, especially now that we've got nothing but time. What else are we doing?
Yeah. Well, I'm working still, like super busy. So that's what people say, like, oh, you got a lot of time on your hands, read some books. And I was like, I'm still working 8 to 5 pretty much, like not missing a step, like super busy. And I got the kids, running around while I'm trying to work from home. And yeah, my days are pretty busy still. So
I'm still in training, so I'm still leaving kind of early, but so it's not
yeah.
terrible. I do got a stack of comics I'm trying to work through, but it's harder and harder to read them every day.
Yeah, man, I've been reading through 100 Bullets again, and so freaking good.
I still haven't.
I love
I went through a list of Vertigo books the other day to see which ones I haven't read that I need to pick up and read. But
Nice.
I've got like
Yeah,
DMZ 1 through 6 on my tablet that I got to go through.
nice. All right, that's it. That's for say that for the comic book podcast. We're not on that right now. I do want to read through some scripture there's this really good podcast called the Think Podcast, and it's sort of like a Christian apologetics podcast. And he had this episode that just came out, and it was like 11 verses for the coronavirus. And I'm not going to go through all the 11 of them, but there were some that were like really good, like just passages through a couple through Psalm, Isaiah, John, that I think would be beneficial to kind of just go through right now. The first one is Psalm 103, and he was saying like this is kind of like the hospital visit psalm, like you go as a pastor, if you go visit someone sick or whatever. So Psalm 103 says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless His holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits. Who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with steadfast love and mercy, who satisfies you with good, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. The Lord works righteousness and justice for all who are oppressed. Who He made known His ways to Moses, His acts to the people of Israel. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. He will not always chide, nor will He keep His anger forever. He does not deal with us according to our sins, or nor repay us according to our iniquities. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, as great is His steadfast love toward those who fear Him. As far as the east is from the west, so far does He remove your transgressions from us. As a father shows compassion to his children, so the Lord shows compassion to those who fear Him. For He knows our frame. He remembers that we are dust. As for man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field, for the wind passes over and it is gone, and its place knows it no more. But the steadfast love of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear Him, and His righteousness to children's children, to those who keep His covenant and remember to do His commandments. The Lord has established His throne in the heavens, and His kingdom rules over all. Bless the Lord, O you His angels, you mighty ones who do His word, obeying the voice of His word. Bless the Lord, all His hosts, all His ministers who do His will. Bless the Lord, all His works, in all places of His dominion. Bless the Lord, all my soul. I just thought that was really like comforting. My mom said on here, the Psalms are comforting. It's like, they are. They really are. Like, it's not bad to read them, and especially this time.
I don't know if you follow Streetlights Bible. They're basically an audio Bible where they got a bunch of Christian hip hop guys to do spoken word readings of like the Bible from the New Living Translation. So it's like as modern English as you can get.
Yeah.
And they got like a good beat behind it. But they just put out, I think this week, Psalm 1 through 40. They like just dropped it right as this was going on. So I put that on this morning. I was like, I need something. But let me listen to this while I'm getting ready.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because like it's comforting and almost a little bit chastising at the same time, because you see it flip back and forth with David, where half the time he's like, bless the Lord, half the time he's like, Lord, save me, half the time, save me, thank you for
kill
saving
my
me.
enemies.
Yeah, kill my enemies, thank you for killing. It's just back and forth. But the thing that's consistent through the Psalms is always the focus on God, either being the deliverer or the one who punishes or the one who saves. Like always, it was back to focus on God, focus on God, focus on God. Like that was the real root that I kind of got stuck in with it today. That was and I guess that's the problem. Like when we get into these situations, it's Peter on the water, man. He's not looking at Christ, he's looking at the water, and then it starts sinking in.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, the weird, the kind of out there thought I had this week was, what if everybody dies and then society has to start over? How are they going to do biblical textual criticism after this? Like, Are they? They're going to be going through digs. I know it's a weird thought, but they're going to be going through digs, and they're going to have like somebody's ESV, and they're going to be like, "Oh, well, this was only found in 2020. This King James was found in 1988." So this one has more. I don't know. I was thinking weird thoughts like that. Like, what if society started over?
Nah, we'll have plenty of.
Abby, your mic might be off. We can't hear you at all.
Yeah, you're muted.
How's that?
Go for it.
There you go.
I was gonna say, are you saying that if that happens, society's gonna have a lot of King James onlyists? King James onlyists?
No.
Everyone's gonna be like ESV, nah.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, that's a modern text. It's unreliable.
No. Yeah, I would love to do a King James only debate with somebody or discussion or something.
I mean, man, can we find somebody who's like level-headed and willing to talk? That's the hard part too.
Yeah. What was that one guy I even said,
I don't
hey,
know
I'll
his
read
name.
that book by Peter Ruckman.
Mhm.
I was like, I'll read that book. And because Peter Ruckman's book was basically counter to James White's King James only controversy, which I read. And this book was the King James only response to that book. And I still maybe want to read it, but James White quotes a lot from it, and he goes kind of through Peter Ruckman, and the guy is just an insane person. He's just nuts. Like, it's not even worth. He's just emotional and just like weird. It's just like personal attacks left and right, and it's like, I'm not gonna read this guy. He's not thinking. It's just weird. Yeah. But.
Well, Dr. White quoted a tweet today where it was like, I don't remember who it was, but they were like, if anyone doesn't believe James White is a reprobate, he worked on the NASB committee, and they've altered the text of the Bible, so therefore his name's blotted out from the book of life, and he can never be saved. So there.
Yeah.
Like, that was their foundational argument. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anyone had their doubts, just remember that James White is irredeemable.
Yeah. You want to look at the comments and see? I don't know, like, what's kind of been
let's see what's going on. Do you know Drew Pond? Is he somebody that you know? Okay.
Yeah, he's like my best friend, man. He's
okay, cool.
Yeah, he's the best man at my wedding, and yeah.
When I see people I don't know, I'm assuming they know one of you guys. So.
Yeah. Believe it or not, Ana Benavides Gonzalez is my mom. So
that one I knew. The ones I didn't know.
Yeah.
Dude, we got to get my mom. I got to get my mom watching this, so all three of them can just criticize this from every angle.
All the moms.
Yeah, just telling us what we're doing wrong.
Get in there.
All our moms on here.
We have 2 out of the 3.
Yeah. So what do y'all think about churches closing? I know that was kind of a thing of like canceling church, don't meet anymore. Government's telling churches to not assemble, and we're just saying, okay, but not because you told us not to, but because we want to actually care for our neighbor, and it's the wise thing to do. But I have seen, especially from like Jeff Durbin and stuff, of like Saita and Brudenkade, and I even saw something Doug Wilson was saying, like, the church assembled in fear of greater things than a bug, or something like that. I guess talking about like first.
I heard him say the opposite in his podcast though.
Yeah, he did. Then I watched that video about the coronavirus, and the guy was asking like, "What? So would you close church?" And he's like, "Yeah, I probably would for if we have some cases in Idaho, And so I was like, "Okay, well I think that's the right response." But what do you guys think about just like churches closing? Because we've kind of talked about a little bit about that offline, but I thought that might be something to kind of focus on, of not assembling as a church.
I saw Cy going hard in the paint on Twitter about it, and I thought he was off. I was like, you're taking the wrong side. This is the wrong thing to fight over.
That's the only way Cy can do anything hard in the paint. Just like go crazy on you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think especially like somewhere like here where, like we were saying, they think there's more cases than we know about, and we do have a couple confirmed. It's not the worst idea to be like, hey, we're going to close just so we don't have a large group of people for a while, and we'll monitor the situation. It's not like they're saying, the church is closed forever. We can't meet at all anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of churches have the option to live stream now. So, I mean, a lot of people can live stream, and they can still you can still hear the sermon. You can still, you are missing fellowship, but at the same time, where's the boundary between looking out for others and being responsible for others? And
Yeah.
Not, I mean, not, but you know what I mean. The boundary of
Right.
yeah.
I'll be right back.
I mean, we've talked about this before on other things that we had. Oh, I don't know if I talked to you about it. Maybe it was Heather I was talking to about it. But like in medical issues in general, like I don't think that we do think about it as an issue of loving your neighbor, you know?
Right.
And I'm sure we'll have a longer discussion about vaccination and stuff later before, because I talked about that angle with her before. I was like, well, it's kind of an issue of loving your neighbor, like if you look at it from that angle.
Right.
And this is kind of the same thing. Like, do you at some level it does feel like Solomon was saying earlier, just like, well, the government told us not to, so we're gonna anyway. And that just seems stupid. I don't know why.
Right. But then you also have the Christians that are like, we don't have a spirit of fear, let's meet anyways and continue on. And I mean, I honestly see both sides of you there, so I'm kind of indifferent on it. But at the same time, yeah, go ahead.
I think the people that are the people who are saying we don't have a spirit of fear, let's continue to meet, are the ones that don't expect to die. Like if one of them died, then they'd be like, whoa, I thought I didn't have a spirit of fear.
Yeah. And I think this is something new all Christians are having to face. Like, we've never really had an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, not in our lifetime.
What do we do? Like, how do we respond to this? It's not like we've had practice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
we've been.
That's what I was thinking too. Of like, we don't know persecution.
Right.
Like, seriously, if we're gonna call this persecution, like the first century Christians would have seen this and thought it was amazing. Like, what? You get to just share Christ all the time. You get to listen to the Bible streaming into your head all day for free with no like, what? That's not that. Yeah, like, we don't know persecution as far as don't meet and don't whatever. Even today in China, the underground church in China has real persecution that we'll most likely, I mean, we've never known in our lifetime. So if we're gonna say this is like government persecution or trying to shut us down or whatever, it's just not. Like, this is just, because like I said, first of all, they're telling all public places to lock down, so it's not like Christians only, so we can't really call this Christian persecution. But yeah, there's the government element of like, government's telling you to not meet, so you're not meet. So who are you gonna fear, God or the government? So, well, not fear anything, but just be prudent and be wise of not trying to get my neighbor sick.
Yeah. Drew said you can not have a spirit of fear but still have a spirit of wisdom, which I think was real. That was very wise, Drew. Spirit of wisdom showing right there.
Very solid. Well, we'll have to get Drew on someday to talk about something.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That'd be good.
You can teach us some stuff.
Is he local or is he somewhere else?
No, he lives in Wisconsin.
Oh man, okay.
So, but he was actually born in San Antonio and then lived. I met him as a kid in Wichita Falls, and so it was like childhood friend, lifelong friend. But yeah, he moved up to Wisconsin. Now he like runs some business or something. So yeah, Drew's a solid dude. Like yeah, he's a cool guy. He just like has done a lot. He graduated college when he was like 19, and yeah, and then like seminary when he was like 22 or something. Got his master's and stuff, and yeah, so he's on it. So yeah, that'd be awesome to have him on.
Drew, let us know what we'll get you on about something.
Right.
Yeah.
So the weird, we got to talk a little bit weird about it. Abby, can you give us like a breakdown? Give us a Cliff's Notes on this Q thing that's going on.
Okay, so
right, bye.
I want to know what's going. I want to know what people think is going on because I keep seeing it pop up, and I keep seeing it. It's everything Trump says. They're like, "Does this mean this?" And I'm like, "Well, right. What? I don't know. I don't know what this is." You can't
say the word Q and think in the same sentence.
Yeah, you can. It's true, and I could misspeak, I guess. So if anyone knows about Q better than I do, I just know what I've been reading. And a lot of people think that Q is basically letting the American people know we're about to go on lockdown, we're about to go on martial law. They're using coronavirus as a means to lock everything down so that Trump can go and arrest all the people in the government and the deep state and all the pedophiles. So like, for instance, Tom Hanks said he had coronavirus. They're saying that he had just got charged with with pedophilia. and that was somehow all related. And I don't know. My husband is so on board with Q, and I'm not, but that's
proof,
just kind of
like,
where I'm at.
if there's proof of anything, I'll see evidence and proof of things. But if this is just like, I think this is going to happen because he said this thing this way, and now that makes it like this conspiracy. I saw that, and like all the like the next celebrity who's going to get it is this person, and they didn't get it, and the next person that got it was like Idris Elba or something. I didn't see Idris Elba's name in there. I didn't see Kevin Durant's name in there.
Somebody said the Pope was going to get arrested before the end of the month. So that's
I heard that too.
If the Pope gets arrested, I'm all in. But there's no way that's going to happen.
And they're definitely tying it into all the CEOs stepping down. Yeah, not.
What if the twist is Tom Hanks does get arrested and he's the one who's supposed to be the real Pope right now?
Tom Hanks is supposed to be the Pope.
That's a movie I'd watch. Like if Forrest Gump became the Pope. But that's so like, okay, convicted and whatever. In what state, by who, and where, and why has nobody heard about this? Why is there no record of this?
It's too detailed. What's something that Q has said that came true?
And he had to say it before it happened.
Anything?
I guarantee you. Yes, I guarantee we could get a Q fan on here that could help us all understand.
Well, I don't want to do that. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
You're my buffer between the conspiracy crowd and myself. Like I want to talk to somebody who's not quite there. You're my life straw for conspiracy theories.
I know, but we need to get somebody on that's full-fledged in, so we know what the theories are that's coming out.
They don't have
they're just gonna have that Guy Fawkes mask on though from Vendetta. That's all it's gonna be, is some hoodie in that little mask.
Oh, that's the worst.
God.
It makes me real angry, by the way, that's the anonymous mask and not the Guy Fawkes mask anymore.
Yeah, that's a
V for Vendetta. Q is the anonymous mask.
The mask for that Anonymous uses is from a comic book, V for Vendetta. Like that's where it comes from. It's supposed to be Guy Fawkes. It's a British thing, but they.
Well, like, you know what? Like V for Vendetta with Antonio Banderas.
No, that's not correct at all. Are you thinking of Zorro? You racist?
Oh, that's Zorro.
Oh my god.
Got her Z's and her V's mixed up.
You don't know
That's close.
You don't know V for Vendetta.
No, in my own world.
I think V's on Netflix. If you get a chance, it's a pretty good movie. It's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Read the comic too.
Oh man, the comic's so dense. It's good, but it's dense. I know. Yeah. And it's not as good as Watchmen.
Watchmen's, I don't know. Watchmen's all right. It's not. It's a good deconstruction of the superhero, but it's like, okay, when I'm reading comics, I don't want to watch that, you know?
Right?
I don't
want you to tell me that the things I like are stupid.
And like, Alan Moore hates everything, but he even hates everything he's done. You know? Like, you're an idiot for liking Watchmen. It's like, you made Watchmen.
Yeah. Right? Morrison had a really good point about how, like, if you look at Watchmen for like half a second, objectively, like, it's not. His whole thing was that scene where Rorschach is talking to the psychologist and he's telling him the story about when he killed the first guy, and that the psychologist has like a mental breakdown, like, oh, I can't believe it. It was such a grim story. Morrison was like, he's a prison psychologist. He hears worse things than that all the time, every day of his life. But this one, like, kind of not even that grim story broke him. Like, that's the one that does it. So that was a good point. That's the first time I ever looked at Watchmen, and I was like, huh, maybe it's not the perfect comic book. Maybe Dark Knight Returns is better.
Yeah, on our comic live, I'm gonna have to go to my stepdad's house and gather all the comics and show y'all. I'll be like, all right,
please do
this one.
There was a guy. This is a heartbreaking story, and I don't even know if I should tell it. I'll leave the players out of it. But we were at work one time. This guy came in, and he had a big Tupperware.
You and I worked at a comic book store together.
Yeah,
just
for context.
For several years.
And we had some high-end comics. People would sell stuff, like high-end stuff. So this guy came in with a big bin full of comics. And normally when that happens, they had nothing. Like, it's stuff that you don't want. Nobody cares about it. You just send them home and say, it's too new. We can't do anything with it. Sorry. So this guy comes in and he opens it up and he's like, yeah, I don't know anything about comics. Just my uncle gave me these and I don't want them. So, like, I don't know, like $300 if you can. We open them up and it has like some gems, like first Punisher appearances in there. and like some real good stuff. So we're trying to look nonchalant about it, and we're like,
$300 right there.
Yeah, we're like, we'll call the manager and see if he's okay with that. It's kind of a lot, but we'll see. So the owner comes up and he takes a look at it and he starts going through it and he's seeing everything and he's kind of trying to, be cool too. So he walks over to the laptop to start typing stuff in, and we're like, yeah, he said he only wants 300 for the whole thing. And he was like, yeah, give it to him, whatever he wants. So when you're going through your stepdad's comics, like, show them to us before you do anything with them, because you might have some good stuff.
Look on eBay. Yeah. See what they're going selling for on eBay. That's a good way.
Yeah. I'll have to ask my stepdad to school me, because he'll be able to be like, on eBay right now, it's approximately blah blah blah, but at this website you can get it for approximately blah blah blah, and he'll know all that detailed information. Wow.
Well, I mean, the thing that we learned working there was things are only worth what people are willing to pay for them. Like, you can list it for whatever you want, but if nobody's buying it, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Drew, this is my you're gonna be disappointed in me. This is my weekday whiskey. This is Evan Williams, the 1783. Yeah. It's the weekday whiskey. I know Drew has his own like whiskey channel on YouTube.
Oh,
and I know.
Dude, okay, now we know what he's gonna come on and talk about: Christianity and alcohol.
There you go.
That's the topic. I'm drinking.
That'd be good.
Like a cheap beer that I bought at Central Market. Yeah, El Jefe.
Okay.
It was one of those that like they have them individually at Central Market for like $1.50.
Yeah.
So I just grabbed like a couple of different ones. But
maybe this will be a redeeming thing, bad. Drew. This glass is a little like map-ish thing of Globe Life Park in Arlington, the baseball, the Texas Rangers baseball field. It's got like a little diagram and it's like all the streets and stuff around it. Yo, Lauren got this for me for Christmas.
Speaking of, really cool. What's going, like, basketball season is done. We're not playing basketball anymore. Yeah. Are you like waiting to hear what they're going to do with baseball season? I don't even know when it starts.
Opening day has been pushed back. I think like not even, I think past May or like the end of May or something, which is crazy, which is really sucks. But man, I don't know. They keep saying summer is going to be a good thing if it gets hotter, which for San Antonio it gets really freaking hot. So if heat is going to get rid of coronavirus, we're going to be done with it in like a month. So
yeah, that's true.
Hot here in Texas. So I don't know, man. There's so many factors with this whole coronavirus thing of like just. So here's the thing too. So our church is going to be closed for 8 weeks, or that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying for everything. That's what they're saying for schools. That's what they're saying for churches, for bars and clubs and grocery stores or whatever. They're not grocery stores, but like all like non-essential or like right. You don't really need to meet, whatever, is closed for 8 weeks. I don't see people staying inside for 8 weeks. Like what I think is going to happen is people are just going to be like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm just going to take my chances and I got to go to work or I got to go do something or whatever. I think we're going to go for a few weeks and then and that's a question too, kind of maybe worth exploring, of like what's going to happen. What if I go to a restaurant and sit down? Are they going to kick me out? Are they going to call the cops and like arrest me? They're talking about curfews and stuff. What if some people after a few weeks are like, I don't care, I'm just going to go do something? And then
maybe they do. Right. Maybe at that point you do get arrested.
That's crazy, because like I see people kind of going along and like, hey, I want to be healthy, I want to be wise about this, and like, not get grandma sick, whatever. But yeah, after like 4 or 5 weeks of just like staying home and not intentionally not going out and doing anything, I see people just like, I'm gonna risk it, or I don't care. And then what's gonna happen? Like, you're just told not to do it. I don't know. It's weird.
It's not a unprecedented scenario for the United States government to decide to lock up citizens for the safety of the country. Like, it's not like that hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
Like in 1940, if you were Japanese, you were going to an internment camp and there wasn't any conversation about it. So, I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that if you don't want to play ball, we're going to make you play ball.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all kind of playing it by ear. They say 8 weeks. They're kind of putting these deadlines on stuff and time limits, but I think we'll play it by ear. If we see like statistics drop, Drew made a good point. He said the whole goal is to give it a few weeks. It's not about prevention. It's about slowing the spread, right? We're trying to flatten that curve or whatever, right? Like that. But I've also heard stuff about like we're don't expect a flattening of the curve. Expect a roller coaster where it's kind of up and down or whatever. And it's like, we don't even know what to do about that. So
I mean, that's what
Oh
I
man,
thought
it's
we
crazy.
were. I assumed we were riding the wave and we were at the crest, and eventually we're just going to come down and it'll kind of level out. But now it's like, well, we don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
It's completely unknown. That's what's nerve wracking about it is like we really don't know.
Right.
Yeah. So are your kids in school or they're not anymore? Or you're only homeschooling the young one?
Yeah, my oldest one isn't homeschooled, but they're out of school. They released a video yesterday that said that they're not going back up to spring break. 'Cause they were out for spring break this week. That they're not going back and they're looking for online options.
Oh yeah.
And then I had heard, and I'm not sure if it's true, that around the Dallas area they had canceled school for the rest of the year and they're going to go to all online. But I don't know how true that is. What about San Antonio? And then I homeschool my youngest, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going online. Like a lot of the school districts are closing and not like even people graduating, they're kind of like pushing that back and stuff, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to do that of like how they're going to graduate, are going to graduate after the summer or what. But yeah, I think online options are what's going on. What do y'all think about school, like government schools versus homeschooling, just on principle in general, as far as like that whole thing? What do y'all where do y'all think about it? We all got kids, you know, so what
I
do y'all
mean,
think?
when we were growing up, I wouldn't have thought it was a big deal. But
What,
like
homeschooling?
now, like the difference between homeschooling and public schooling, like when we were growing up, I wouldn't have thought it was that big a deal to go to public school. It's like, it's school, you know what? It's not like you're getting propaganda at school. You're just going to school. But now, like, it's completely different. Now I'm like, yeah, homeschool all the time, always, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You froze.
Froze up. The government, they're like, they're talking about public schools.
Shut it down.
Freeze them.
I don't know. I think I'm frozen.
Yeah,
We
you're
got you
good
back.
Yeah. My internet keeps cutting in and out. But I think that's kind of a sad place to be. Like, we shouldn't. A lot of parents are frustrated and like stressed out about having their kids home all the time, and that's kind of a sad place for us to be as a country.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been funny because, like, you know, my wife stays home and she takes care of our kids during the day. My son is 3 and my daughter's 1. So, and then we also watch my niece. So she's got 3 kids she's taking care of all day. And people are freaking out of like, what? My kids? Like, what am I going to do with my kids? What am I supposed to do with my kids?
Right.
Like, I mean, raise
Watch
them?
them.
I don't know. Raise them
Take care of
yourself?
them.
Yeah,
Right?
take care. It's funny how recent like government school and public school is like that for the majority of mankind of humanity. Education was the family's responsibility, was the parents' responsibility,
Mhm.
and just this idea of free school was like, oh, okay, well, let me just send them off, you know, to have someone else instill values, and that's what's happened. Like honestly, like our plan is to homeschool. We're gonna homeschool. We're gonna go through like Doug Wilson's um, classical Christian education program, which fuses like the Greek classics of logic and rhetoric and stuff with Christian values and stuff, and for like a full education. So we're gonna go through that. That's our plan with our kids, which starts at like 5. So that's our plan, and I think public schools of the majority are not good, and
Yeah.
they're just not. They're kids get through it. It really trains kids for the clock in clock out mentality. They teach you what to think, not how to think. It was all cramming for the test. Just get the test, pass the test, and be done. Kids graduate public school. They don't know jack, and they don't know how to even think. They don't know how to make decisions and
Right.
decide things, or just think logically, think critically, because that's not what they're supposed to be doing in school. They're supposed to be passing a test, and they're supposed to
Right.
get more money for the district. So, and it became this chase of chasing money, chasing test scores and everything, and yeah, I think government, like, it's just so many people, so many, like, I remember because I was homeschooled from like 3rd grade to 10th grade, or to like 9th grade, and so I went to public school in 10th grade, and I remember thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be behind, or I don't, you know, our homeschooling wasn't as like rigid schedule as a public school is, so I'm gonna like not know things or whatever. And I got to public school in a major city in a good school district here in San Antonio, and I think the first thing I said was, Mom, public school is the biggest waste of time. Like, we're just sitting here waiting for the bell to ring. Like, what are we doing? Like, I would be done by like 12 or 1 at home to get my work done, and then I can have the rest of my day. And I think about what I did during the day homeschooling and what I did at public school, and think, what kind of lifestyle do I want to train my kids for?
Hmm.
It would be to work from home. It'd be to make your own schedule. To have some freedom. It'd be to do things, think outside the box, and actually learn and know how to think. Not just, hey, the bell rings and now I get up, I sit down, I stand up, I got to raise my hand and go to the bathroom, and it's just this like cubicle mindset that we're setting people up for, and that's what it trains people, or prison.
It's true.
You know, it's public
true,
school
though.
trains kids for a cubicle or a prison, and that's what it is. So it's just it's insane. So I think there are smart kids that come through public school. There are kids who make it through and do well and all that, but I think a majority is just these like robot kind of thing. Like,
drones, you're a drone.
Yeah, these drones. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you said like the link between how you're just a cog in the machine in school and then you're just a cog in the machine at work.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you know how to be. So people are freaking out. Like, I can't miss work. What am I going to do with these kids? Like, well, you got your priorities way backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we chase, and then as parents, we chase this 2-income lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so we get trapped into that. And then, I mean, I know people right now who have 2 great incomes and they're trying to have kids, and the wife wants to stay home and raise the kids, and freaking out, trying to like, well, what are we going to do? That cuts all ours. Like, what are we going to do? And it's like, it really is that like 2-income trap of doing that. And it just becomes such an insane notion to people. Homeschooling is just such a like, it's not even a thought. It's not even a blip on anybody's radar of like, hey, I could raise my own kids.
Right.
And especially as Christians, like Doug Wilson has said, if all Christians pulled their kids out of public school, it would collapse.
Oh yeah.
Like, because there's so many Christians in America that are putting their kids through this public school system that it literally is a godless worldview. They're teaching the philosophy of naturalism is what's promoted. Oh, Corona!
Shut it off! Shut it off! No, Wilson's new book, Productivity. He talks about how we're not supposed to be efficient. We're not machines. We're supposed to be productive. We're people, and how the two are not the same. But like we think of them as the same. Like, how much did you get done today, as opposed to how productive were you today, are not the same.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, so just thinking, just kind of what my plans for my kids are. This might sound crazy to people, but I've seen it done, and it's just so possible. My plan for my kids' education, which I'm assuming all parents have some sort of plan for their kids' education.
I don't think they do, man. I really don't think they do.
Throw them in a public school, and that's the thing too. Christians throw their kids in public school. So I'm sorry, I'm really like passionate about this. Right. So like, this is a big deal for me. So there's a big problem with Christianity of like, oh, they go off to college and lose their religion. They stop becoming Christians. And that's not when it happens.
I agree. Sorry. I'm really sorry.
No, you're good.
I know. Really...
You're okay. You got coronavirus allergies.
I just had a sneezing fit.
Yeah, sneeze in this environment. A sneeze is not just a sneeze anymore.
I know.
Forgot about everything. You have toilet paper? Get some toilet paper. Blow your nose.
I have my emergency roll.
That's get your go bag. You're sneezing. Yeah. No, but so Christians send their kids off to public school, and they're instilled with a godless worldview.
Nothing in the public school is focused on God
at all. It's avoided, and so and to think there's any sort of neutrality of like, oh, separation of church and state. This is just kind of the neutral. There is no neutrality. Neutrality is a myth. There's no neutrality. A worldview is being taught. Religion is being taught in schools. Literally a philosophy of naturalism. Naturalism is not a scientific theory. It's not a scientific issue. Naturalism is a philosophy. And that's being taught to our kids. They're being taught an actual philosophy of naturalism. And that's what they're being taught, instead of theism, instead of theology of actual truth of the Bible being taught to them. So they're being taught that. And Bodhi Baucham has a really good quote where he said, I'm going to butcher it, but he says something like, don't send your kids off to Rome to be educated and to be surprised when they start speaking like Romans, because
That's
that's what
true though.
happened with the Greeks and the Jews and stuff. They would send them off to Roman schools, and then they'd have this Roman worldview, and they're like, what happened? Why are you worshiping these pagan gods and all these things? And it's like, you just sent them for 8 hours a day to be taught these philosophies and worldviews, and now you're shocked when they graduate and they don't have to go to church with you, and they decide not to go to church anymore. But that issue, the issue of Christians losing their religion when they go to college, that is not a high school to college problem. That's a 9 years old to 10 years old problem, because they're not having values instilled in them of actual Christian truth and truth of the Bible instilled in them. So they're just biding their time. They're just going to church with you. They're going to youth group. They're doing all the fun stuff and the cultural Christianity until they get to college, and they don't have to do the cultural Christianity anymore. So they stop. It's not that they were full-fledged faithful Christians up to high school, up to college, and then lost it. That problem started in middle school. Problem started when they were 7, right? And weren't taught the Bible and weren't taught Christianity. So
Right.
it's just been in a latency stage. If we're going to keep the trend of talking about diseases and stuff, it's been this latency stage, and then finally showing symptoms when they go off to college and think, hey, I can do whatever I want finally.
Well, that's
And
not just
I never
regular.
believed this, and now I can just do whatever I want.
That's not just regular school. That's Sunday school too. Like, well, I don't got to teach you about the Bible. I go to send you to Sunday school every Sunday, and then we go to church for 2 hours. You know what's
Yeah,
True.
it's the same thing. Christian parents don't want to teach their kids the Bible or education or math or literature or anything. So it's like if I could pawn my kids off, and just, it's hard, it's difficult, because they were raised in it. We have entire
right.
generations of people raised in these government schools who didn't teach
Right.
them jack except how to pull a lever, and so they're sending their kids off to learn that same thing. One of the things about, like, oh, I can't homeschool my kids because I'm not really qualified. Didn't you go to public school? Yeah. Okay. Then why aren't you qualified to teach what they're teaching in public schools? Didn't really seem to do much for you, did it? Right? It's like, if you go through the whole public school system and can't teach your kids anything, then why do you want to send them to go off to public school and not know anything also? They're not going to be able to teach their kids anything.
But I mean,
So
it's like
the system to send your kids to if you don't know anything.
I mean, it's like you said, they grew up in that system. So it's like, this is just what you do. You have kids, you send them to public school, they graduate, they go to college. Like, that's what you do.
It's just what you do. It's just what you do. You get a job, you go to college, you just do what you do.
It's the
And
American dream, man.
Yeah. It's just insane. It's so
But
crazy.
I mean, I was back to comic books. I was reading this book the other day. I forget what it's called. I don't even remember. But it was this kid. It's kind of autobiographical, and he was talking about the differences he had with his dad, where his dad was that. It was like, no, you have to be efficient. You have to be an efficient member of society, and how, like, the people who grew up in the 60s had that mentality. Like, even Walt Disney, when he built Epcot, it was supposed to be like the world of the future, where we're all cogs in a machine and we all do our part and we're all efficient and everybody helps everybody.
Yeah.
But they didn't have that idea of, like, well, maybe that's not the best way to do things. That's not the best way to be a person.
Well, I think people still had a large sense of humanity in being part of the culture of work and productivity, and they felt like, I'm helping build something. Well, now it's not.
Right.
I mean, it really is. You're just a cog in the machine, more than ever. We lost Abby. What's going on?
I don't know. I'm assuming she had a kid issue, but she'll get back at some point.
Yeah, we need to get her on that back on.
What's
But,
I mean,
my plan with my kids, and like I said, I'm gonna probably sound like an insane person right now, but
as opposed to earlier,
it's not insane. So my goal with my educational goals with kids are college by 16. So we're gonna homeschool and do the classical Christian education thing, and the goal is to start college classes locally here at SAC or the community college or just a local university at 16. So most kids get their driver's license and start driving to high school. I guess they're hopefully going to get their driver's license and drive to campus and drive to and go to take classes. So it's so doable. It's not even funny. So like the first 2 years of college are literally just a repeat of high school.
right?
So you're not doing your major yet. You're not getting into the real things you want to do. It's just a repeat of science and math and English and stuff. So that the plan is to, while they're in grade school, like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, go year round a couple years and just do it then. Skip the 2 years as soon as possible. And then by the time they even have a plan of what they want to do, they'll be 2 years ahead and they won't even know. Like they'll just already be on this 2 year ahead track. And that'll just carry them on through being 16 years old. So 16, yeah, graduate and then go to college. Also, what I want my kids to do, and this is the beautiful world of the technology that we live in, and we're talking about kind of while we're not farming. Hey, I would if my kids want to farm, that's great. Learn agriculture, learn
Right.
livestock, learn all these things. Like what I want my kids to do is learn a trade as well. I'll make it part of their schooling as far as like every day kind of dipping into it. Learn a trade, whether that's welding or sewing or carpentry or working on cars or whatever, just some sort of marketable trade that they can really know. And I want my kids to write a book by the time they're 16.
Wow, that's lofty, man.
Well, it's not if you incorporate. so at about 13 years old, I want them to pick a topic that they really like, and by then they should have interests and skills.
Right.
So pick a topic you like, pick a thesis sort of thing, and then for 30 minutes as part of your class, it's going to be your book writing plot, block or class for about 30 minutes a day. You're going to have your book writing class, and you're going to just work on your book for 3 years every day as part of your school. Make that a class. You can get 300 pages. You get 300 pages on a topic.
The part of that's the most crazy is like, find a topic you're interested in. Like that was never a thing in school. Like that wasn't oh, I really like English. Right? Well, too bad. You got to go to physics. Like, exactly. Okay, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, you got to fit your interest around all this other bull crap. So, but yeah, if we can incorporate that into an actual just class kind of in their homeschool curriculum of like, this is your book writing class in 30 minutes, just there you go. You're just going to sit and think and do research or write or whatever on this thing. And then come up with drafts and get a paper, get chapters, get, topics and work through it. And so for 3 years, working every day with that as part of their schoolwork, from 13 to 16, they'll have something that you can self-publish and put into a book. So, and hopefully they'll have learned a trade by then as well.
Right.
Also part of their schoolwork, part of their daily activities and stuff. Instead of underwater basket weaving elective, they're going to have a trade. They're going to do welding or wood shop or whatever.
Well, I mean, that's interesting too, because I saw my time at college as a waste of time personally. Like I thought it was a complete waste of time. I didn't learn anything useful to anything that I had any
that you didn't already learn in high school.
Right. Exactly. It was pointless. And then I took an art history class, but it was kind of one of those, like, my teacher was somebody who had like a relative interest in crafting, so it feels like they just stuck her in there, like, teach these kids art or something. I don't know. It's a waste of time. I went to a private Christian university. Their real focus was like music and biblical studies. So everything else was kind of like and that's kind of the danger of Christian education, not classical Christian education, but Christian education, where you get the as opposed to the Martin Luther idea where it's like every tradesman is working for God. It's the idea of like, well, if you're not working for God, nothing matters.
Yeah.
And well, working for God means being in ministry.
It's not classical Christian education. It's the cultural Christian education.
Right. So college to me felt like a huge waste of time, as opposed to like, I feel like you've laid out a model that makes sense. And that's why nobody's doing it, because it makes too much sense. Like, learn something profitable, get good at what you're interested in, and actually do something with it.
Yeah.
So point being, I'm just going to drop my kid off with you for school.
Hey man, I'd want to start a school, but that'd be awesome
I mean, that's what Wilson has going on in Moscow.
I know. Their story was crazy because they had their kids and he just like had this thought like, hey, I'm going to put them in school. And then his wife was like, I don't want to send my kids off to school, like to a public school. And he's like, okay, by the time they're ready to start school, I'll have started a school. I'll start a school. He did. And now he has a college he founded.
And he talked about, I forget what book it was in, or it might have been a podcast interview where he was talking about the whole idea with Moscow, Idaho, why they settled in Moscow, is that his dad had this idea of taking ground for Christianity that had to be strategic and also doable.
Yeah.
And he was like, Moscow is not a huge town, so we can take it, but it's a college town, so it's strategic.
I think about that with something like Amarillo or San Marcos, small towns, but college towns.
Right.
Kind of the same idea.
And they talk about how, like, I think it was with Jeff Durbin, they were watching one of the, what's crazy is how much stuff comes out of Moscow and Canon Press. Like, they're doing documentaries, they're doing books of all kinds, fiction, actual reprinting literature. They're doing apologetics. They're just like everything that's coming. It's
Doug
so
Wilson
productive.
is doing everything I wanted.
Yeah. And he's fighting on every front
Yeah.
successfully and like making ground from this tiny town. One family in one town has just flipped it over.
Yeah.
And conceivably, there's families all over America that are in that Christian mindset that could do that thing. Like,
imagine if we got 10 families like that in this town.
Right.
You know,
I think about that all the time when I'm doing art stuff.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, this is all young creatives. Like they're dying for something.
Yeah.
And this is not like the art scene it's not New York. It's not Los Angeles. You could take the art scene here.
Yeah.
It would be super easy to do that kind of thing. Just nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of Christians are afraid to do what you're talking about. Like, actually live the Christian life in a way that actually affects the way you live your regular life.
Yeah. Yeah. So something that our church that we really focus on is talking about that idea of kind of affecting the city and being a light to the city. And again, kind of as we're talking about this weird lockdown situation we're in, being a light to the city and just kind of trying to lead the way with things. One of our kind of like, I don't know, life verses or kind of like verses that kind of define our church or what we want to do or our plans for the city is Jeremiah 29, 5-9. Is when the Israelites are in captivity in Babylon, and they're in this place that they're basically slaves, basically not even being occupied. They've been captured, and they're being in exile in this godless city, this godless nation. He says, chapter 4, thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, to all the exiles whom I have sent into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses and live in them. Plant gardens and eat their produce. Take wives and have sons and daughters. Take wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there and do not decrease, but seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare. For thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, do not let your prophets and your diviners who are among you deceive you. Do not listen to the dreams that they dream. So basically, he's just saying like, look, you're in the city, you're in this captivity, this godless sort of culture and worldview. Plant gardens, build houses, start families, live in that city, and seek the welfare of that city. This is Babylon, right? So it's like, why would I seek the welfare of Babylon? They're my captors, But here's God telling the Israelites to do that, and we've got a better situation as far as we're not necessarily captives in this godless, anti-God city, So that should be our goal: is to just influence the culture, influence society on every level, and it's so doable. Just win people with the power of the gospel. So,
the biggest problem with American Christianity is apathy. Like, it's not that we can't do it; it's just that we don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's just like, well, what we don't is, again, it's the homeschooling. It's not even on our radar. It's not even on our radar that like, I could raise my own children. I could, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, what do I do about my kids in public school? Take them out.
No,
we have to work. Why? Well, because we have because our bills, because our debt, because our whatever. It's like, we don't have those things. That's the thing. Is like, what's more important to you? Raising your kids into believing real things in terms of eternity that for their soul, or we got to have these nice cars and these houses, and whatever. And people just make that trade every day.
That's the American dream. That's what we're spoon fed everywhere we look. Like, this is what you need. This is success. This is what it looks like. And that's not the idea. The biblical idea of success is to know God. The worldly idea of success is to have stuff.
Yeah.
And that's, on that is where I have common ground with Abby, where she's like, we don't need to be chasing all of these things. It's like, yes, you're right. Because essentially we're working to fill a house with stuff that we never use, a house that we never go to because we're always at work, for our kids that we never see. And, we're just doing it because that's what you're supposed to do. You get up, you do this, you go.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Oh, geez, it's already 11:15.
Yeah. This went a little off topic, but I feel like it was a good topic. Maybe we'll get this one next week. We'll get Living as Exiles. We'll watch those Bible Project videos and go into that.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. But don't freak out, people. Don't panic. We have a God that has overcome. John 16:33. I've said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. And this world belongs to Jesus. This world does not belong to our government or to stupid people who let viruses out and, and do things. This world belongs to God, and he's in control of everything. He knows what he's doing. He has dominion and sovereignty and power over everything. And if he is in control, we know it's good, and we can trust that. You know, it's not always necessarily safe as far as like you could die, but he is king and he is good. And so everything that happens is for his glory, and we just have to trust that that's what's going on. So I hope this has been helpful and beneficial for people, and just maybe brought hope, brought scripture, brought the word of God to people. But yeah, so leave us a comment. You know, we'll get to answer them later, maybe, or respond. And yeah, share this video. Share the page. You know, we're still working on making this into an audio form only of like just a podcast and more blogs, more content, and we're just still trying to work on rolling more of those things out. But yeah,
cool. And you know, no reason that we can't keep doing this. So we'll probably be back next week. We do this from home. It's not like it takes a lot of effort.
We don't
fire
need
up the laptop.
Corona can't stop this. We're all this is how I do work every day. So we're good.
So I mean, in the meantime, find what you can do for God and do it, and just live the life.
Absolutely.
Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. See you.
Peace.
Bye.